By the way, Cheyenne, can we talk about some learning methods that worked out today? Because I'm making YouTube video, so is it okay?
Yeah, learning methods for...
Yeah, in my case, I've been studying English and you've been studying Russian and Spanish. So I want to talk about this.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Sorry for changing the subject.
No, let's do it. Let's do it for sure.
Thank you so much. So I think a lot of people are confused about study methods because there are so many ways to learn English nowadays. You can gather a lot of information on the internet, and many people are like, I've been studying English for a long time, but it's not working out. Only time is passing by. So I thought it'd be useful to share our experience with our viewers. Like I said earlier, you're a native speaker, so you're not learning English as a second language, but you've been studying Russian and Spanish for a certain period of time. So I think you can give our viewers some tips on how to study.
True.
Yeah. So can I go first?
Please go first, because I'm still thinking.
Okay. So actually, I prepared 3 reasons today. So first, I learned grammar from textbooks, and it was so helpful because you use grammar to form sentences, and you can use grammar to understand the meaning of sentences. So in my opinion, if you don't know grammar, you can't understand what people are saying, and you will have a hard time expressing yourself. So for me, I'm glad I learned grammar at the very beginning. So this is my first reason. Did you think of any reasons?
All right, let me think. So my first reason then, my first one would be YouTube, actually.
Same. I agree.
I actually have never tried using YouTube until yesterday, and I found some really good channels for Russian and actually for Japanese. And there's like a lot of like native speakers that have their own YouTube channels, and like whether it's like grammar or vocabulary, I was just trying to learn like basic phrases for Japanese, but YouTube's like a really good one to use and to subscribe, because if you're like, the more channels you're subscribed to, the more like that language is going to pop up, and the more you're likely going to watch new ones.
Yeah, the algorithm of YouTube recommends you useful, like similar content. So yeah, YouTube is so helpful in terms of improving your like conversational skills, listening and speaking. Actually, I was trying to, my third reason was YouTube. Like I said, I prepared 3 reasons, and then the third one was YouTube. So yeah, definitely YouTube is so helpful. I agree. Yeah. So
your second one.
Okay, so let's move on to the second one. Thank you for sharing your experience. But anyways, second, memorizing basic vocabulary in middle and high school was so helpful because later I realized that these words are often used in conversation. I understand that some people don't want to use a vocabulary book because it can be boring. Sometimes, people can't concentrate on using the same textbook for months. But I think it is a top priority for beginners if they want to make real progress, because in conversation, these words are used a lot. Yeah, so this is my second reason.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I actually have a few vocabulary books, and with the vocabulary books, I find the ones that have like pictures with them, a lot of it are like, for me, those are the best ones, because whenever you put like a visual with a word, you memorize it so much faster rather than just a list of words. But if you have a picture with it, you're going to memorize it a lot faster.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I think pictures and illustrations are helpful to memorize new words and idioms, phrases.
Yeah, definitely pictures. But actually my number 2 was audiobooks.
Okay.
Yeah, I just started getting into that as well, actually. I've been listening to them in English mostly, but I actually do have like an audiobook or a podcast. I kind of have both in Spanish, because my Russian's not good enough yet, but my Spanish, I use audiobooks and podcasts. The nice thing about that is, like, if you didn't understand what they said, just rewind it. It's easy. You don't miss it. You just rewind and replay it until you understand. Yeah, audiobooks are really, really good for like listening comprehension skills.
Okay. You can listen to them over and over again. So yeah, like you said, you can rewind podcasts and audiobooks. So yeah, that is helpful. So what if you don't catch the word? Because Spanish and Russian are not your mother tongue. So I think you can't catch every single word. So what would you do when when you can't understand like some specific words?
So for me, it's not fully about understanding every single thing. For me, the audiobooks and podcasts, it's more about understanding the idea as a whole and then getting the listening and hearing the accent. So I think with the listening comprehension, for me, if I miss a word, it's okay. But even if I don't know what that word means, I can at least hear it and understand the accent, and like I can pick up how the word should be said, rewind it a few times, and then later I can type it into the translator, if I really want to know what that one word is. But the more you hear a word, eventually you're just going to memorize the context anyways, even if you don't fully understand what it means,
Yeah, you're right. You don't have to understand every single word because sometimes you can guess the meaning from
Totally.
the context.
And the more you hear the word, the same context is going to keep coming up. So eventually you're just going to understand the word through the context anyways.
Yeah, you might find out the meaning later, even though you don't understand at that moment. So yeah, I think, getting exposed to your target language is important. Sometimes it's not the main method. It's not the main study method, but, if you get exposed to the language, you get used to it. Like you said, you use them for like intonation and accent.
Yep.
So yeah, to get knowledge about these things, listening to your target language constantly is important.
I agree. Definitely. I technically do have one more that I can think of. I'm trying to think of ones that I've never used in our other videos. And one that kind of just came to my mind. Obviously, it's not for everybody because it costs a little bit more money. But whatever like language you're learning, like if you end up going to that country, you can travel around if you want to. But there's also, if you look into like bigger cities, usually there's like specific language schools that are schools made for teaching foreigners that language. And sometimes it's like a 2-week program, a month program. Like my friend from Brazil, next summer she's coming to Calgary in a language program, and she's going to be learning English at like the school and for 30 days. So there's like options that if you do travel, if you can just go in like a 2-week program and just take a break from your travel, 2-week program, your English is going to get so much better, and then you can just continue with your traveling.
Why traveling?
A lot of cities, like not even just in like my city, like all over Canada, USA. You don't have to go to like a university to learn. Like there's little buildings, and it will actually like say like language program, and they have specific courses, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so on. And you go in and just study English for like a full day for like 2 weeks straight. And you can just continue on traveling. It's really cool. I might do that next time I go to South America, go in a 2-week program. It's good for people that travel.
Actually, when I was a sophomore, I participated in one of the programs because when I was in the States, I went to a language school and I went to the language school for a month. So yeah, I did that.
Yeah, and that probably helped a lot, hey?
Actually, at that time, I ended up speaking Japanese all the time because
no.
there were many Japanese people there
no.
and it wasn't helpful.
Aw.
But I think for some people it works, especially for advanced learners, because at that time my English was terrible and I couldn't communicate with people, and then I gave up trying to speak English.
It definitely is hard too. Like, yeah, I can definitely see drawbacks. I think it really depends on the person. Because like if this person is very serious about learning, even if like let's say I went to Spain and in my class there was a bunch of English speakers. Like if I wasn't very serious about learning it, I would just speak English to them outside of class, which is not helpful. But if you're like a serious person and you're really serious about learning, I think you could like get past that and like I think you'd still try to speak English. I think it depends on the person for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It depends on the person. I should have created more opportunities before going to the States. That is one of my things that I regret right now. Okay. So it looks like we are kind of running out of time. So sorry. So let's move on to the third reason. Sorry.
Yeah.
So third, learning practical English through YouTube was helpful. You mentioned this, but yeah, I think YouTube is very useful. You can learn words and phrases that native speakers use in real conversation. When I was in university, I often watched videos of a YouTuber named Bilingual. that is a made up word. So this is made up of two words, bilingual and girl. And it becomes, these two words become bilingual. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but she's Japanese, but she lived in Seattle for a long time. So she's fluent in English.
That's super
And
cool.
yeah, she teaches useful words and phrases that native English speakers use in real life. So it was very educational. And yeah, I thought the content was so helpful.
Wow.
Okay.
That's super cool. You got it. You said it. You said your
I
piece.
made it in time.
You made it in time. No, that's super cool. There's so many like really good YouTubers out there, and yeah, it's an awesome resource for sure.
Yeah, YouTube is so helpful.
I agree. I didn't even know that until literally yesterday, so that's funny. But
thank you so much
time.
today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Agreed.
See you in 2 weeks. See you in 2
weeks.
現在、英語コーチングの生徒さんを募集しています。英語学習を頑張っているけど継続することが難しい。英語力が伸び悩んでいる。TOEIC のスコアが頭打ちしている。ぜひこのような方は無料カウンセリングへどうぞ。下の概要欄から申し込むことができます。ぜひ無料カウンセリングでお会いしましょう。